Sweet.
You're live.
Finally live.
There we go. Get everything rolling.
I'm trying. I'm trying to ignore all the clanking around in the kitchen. Come on. Oh my gosh. Can you even hear that? Or not? The ad
bit.
playing? Yeah. All right. There we go on YouTube. Switching over to Fellowship. If we want to do one of these on my channel, sometime we can.
Already.
We've been getting decent numbers though.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should do it.
What's going on, folks? I'm Jordan from Ducks Gun Chronicles. Got my co-host Elliot Graybeard from Freelance Duck Hunting alongside me, per usual. How you doing tonight, Elliot?
It has been quite the day in a lot of ways. It's been a crazy, crazy day for sure. Emotional ups and downs. It's just been a crazy day. I don't even know how much of it I'm even talk about, but it's been. I don't know. If you push me enough, I might tell that horrible, horrific story that make myself look like an absolute moron.
Well, I mean, I think if you start off like that, there's nothing else to do besides go ahead and tell the story.
I'm gonna make myself look like such a fool if I do.
It's all right. I do it all the time.
You really want me to tell that story?
I think it can be a cautionary tale.
Okay. I was talking to my son after this event happened, and the thing about life is like there are so many moments in a lifetime, right? And all it takes is one split second to make a stupid decision that can alter your life. I mean, you can die on a stupid split decision, right? So this story certainly isn't about anyone dying, but it's so difficult to stay in a frame of mind in your life where you don't ever make completely stupid decisions. And we try, and my mom always tells me, if you get that little voice, and that little voice says, no, don't do that, or you better be careful. When you get that voice, you better listen to it the first time, because if you don't, inevitably there's going to be moments in your life where you're like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that. You've heard people say that, I knew I shouldn't have done that, right? And when people make that statement, it's because they heard that little voice. They heard the little voice saying, don't do it, and you do it anyway, and then you get the repercussions. And
Mhm.
so today, so it looks like we're going to be moving from one place to another, to a new house, which is it's been such a fast action. All this is coming about so fast. So anyway, I was loading a bunch of sticks into the back of my truck because we're getting ready to list our house. and I was taking it to my in-laws to dump all these branches and sticks because they've got a huge place with plenty of land, a place to dump sticks and stuff. So my wife Beth and I headed over there to do that, and I'm so busy today getting the house ready to list. So I'm like, man, when I come back, I'm gonna have to take my little puppy Georgie out and all that. And if you guys haven't been caught up with what's going on in my life with my puppy, I've been we've talked a lot about it on the podcast here, and I made lots of videos about it on Freelance Duck Hunting. But she is a black lab puppy from Flatlander kennels, and just phenomenal bloodline, just the best by far, the best bloodline dog that I've ever had, and I'm just so in love with her. She's just an amazing little puppy. And so at the last thing, I'm like, well, let's just bring Georgie with us. We'll go over there and I'll unload all the sticks, and Beth can play with Georgie out in my in-laws' yard and everything. And that way, when I get back, I don't have to take her out and exercise her and all that. So we get there, and I say, Beth, go over here in the yard and play with the dog. And over there is a little, like a toddler swing set, basically, like a little plaything that my father-in-law built. And there's a little slide on. Now, this is a slide for toddlers, like 2 to 5 year olds, basically 2 to 6 year olds. It's not a big slide, so it's a small short slide. And I don't know, everyone's probably seen pictures of dogs going down slides, where dogs are trained to go down slides, and I'm sure you guys have seen pictures of that on YouTube and whatnot. And so it just went through my mind. It's like, ooh, let's see if Georgie will go down the slide. And I mean, this is a puppy whose bones and joints are not fully grown, and they're susceptible to injury. If you've got to be careful with them. We went. Chris Jobman at Flatlander Kennel was like, be careful with them on tiles and slick surfaces, because their little joints and their shoulders and stuff are just a little bit susceptible at this age. And for some reason in my mind, I thought that would be a great idea to put little Georgie on the slide and see if she'd go down it. So I went and I unloaded all of the sticks and logs and everything, and I came out, and I'm like, and Beth's like, oh, she went down the slide. It was so cute, um, and I got a video. The crazy thing about this is not one time did I think this is a bad idea. This is a little tiny 10-week-old puppy. You were told to be careful of this puppy on slick surfaces, and you're racing this thing down. I mean, never did it even go through my mind, which I can't even comprehend why I didn't even have the "don't do that" voice. I think the reason I didn't is because this dog is very daring and very bold, and I'm proud of that, because I know she's going to be phenomenal, like entering the water, and she's like up for the challenge, not afraid, right? And which is why a 10-week puppy just being willing to on their own go down a slide is, there's just no fear there. And so she showed me the video, and I'm just thinking in my heart, like, I'm so proud of how brave this little dog is. She's already swimming and everything. Like, oh, let's do it again. Let's put her on the slide again. And again, not one time did I think, don't do it. No, you better not do that. You got this prize little high priced super stud bloodline dog. Don't race it down a slide. So I put her on the slide again, and she just went right down it. She went so fast down that slide. She landed like front feet first, and like flipped and rolled over. I'm like, oh, she gets up, and she's got like a massive limp. And immediately it's just like, I realized the idiot that I am, that I would take this little puppy who means so much to me and my channel, and do something so completely stupid as to race this dog, let this dog go down a slide. And so I'm just freaking out. And we're getting ready to get in my truck to go back to the home. I put her on the concrete to see if she can walk. She can't put even any weight on her one, I think her left leg. In fact, she tried to put weight on it, and she screamed out in pain. And so I'm like flipping out. Like, I don't know if her leg's broken or what. I mean, I'm just absolutely freaking out. And so I call the vet and everything, and it's like 11:30, and the vet is like, well, we can't really get you in, but if you want to come in at, or you don't have an appointment, but come in at 1 and we'll see what we can do. And so I'm like, well, I'm just gonna go home and then wait and go in there at 1. We got home. I called my mom. She's like praying like crazy. My mom, we're spiritual people, and I am just like beyond despair. Not just that I think her leg might be broken, but that I was just that stupid. That how in the world could I be so dumb to do something like that? we got home and I got her out and she got on the concrete and she had a little bit of a limp, but not really much. And over the next hour, by about an hour passed by and her limp was completely gone. She's running around. She's acting like nothing even happened. So, and I honestly didn't know if I was even tell this story because I mean, I'm sure that plenty of people are listening to this like, what an idiot. Because yeah, that I was a complete idiot. So it was an emotional roller coaster because I really, really thought when she tried to walk on that leg and was screaming in pain, I thought I may have ruined this hunting dog forever. I mean, if she has a broken leg as a puppy, or I don't know, but luckily she came out of it. I saw my wife. She's like, "Okay, we just have to remember this is a baby. Treat it like a baby. You wouldn't put a baby on a slide and just let it fly down without being at the bottom to catch it, you know." I don't know. So I told it. There I am. I'm an idiot.
Man, well, if you keep calling yourself an idiot, it's no fun for me. I don't get to say it. So
What I mean, what else can I say? I mean, complete lapse of judgment, not protecting a huge future of my channel, the partnership I have with Flatlander Kennels. I mean, what do I got to go on like, Chris? Yeah, that dog I got from you ran it down a slide and broke its leg. you know, I mean, oh my gosh.
yeah. Well, I'm glad it ended out well for you.
Yeah.
So it's I can understand being scared about that for sure.
I was flipping out. You're the only person I texted. That says a lot for our relationship because it's like I called my mom, I texted Jordan. What did my text say? It was I'm like I was berating myself via text, I'm pretty sure.
I care. Yeah, something like that. But no, I was the voice of reason. I'm like, calm down. Hopefully, let's just hope for the best, I think is what I said.
When I saw her try to put weight on it and just scream in pain, I'm like, this is it. I just completely in one moment.
No, I can understand that. Yeah, being super freaked out.
Yeah.
So
I'm calling it a miracle. I don't know. I'm calling it a miracle. I got in the truck. She was screaming out in pain when she stepped on it. My mom prays for it. We get home. She's healthy. She's walking. So, I try to give praise to God at everything I do, and I'm certainly, miracle or not, I'm praising God on that one because that if she had been done for and had this like injury like that affected the rest of her life, I never would have forgiven myself.
yeah, no, it'd been a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. So lesson is, I would like to say the lesson is if you hear that little voice that says don't do it, then don't do it. But this idiot sitting here didn't even hear the voice. So yeah, there's that.
Yep. And then the other thing we tried to do today, we tried to get our next guest on and had some technical difficulties. So I know we put a questionnaire, or not really a questionnaire, just questions filled out in the Fellowship of the Duck Gun. Well, those questions will be asked at the next podcast after this one with our guest. So just stay tuned for that. We got a different topic for tonight now.
And we're gonna do that next week, right?
Yeah, yep. We'll have him back on next week.
So if we go live, it'll be Tuesday, right?
Correct. Yep. A little different that week. Normally Wednesday. This week or next week it'll be Tuesday.
Yeah. And guys, do not forget to join us at Fellowship of the Duck Guns. That group is blowing up. We are getting so many new group members. There's conversations, so many that I honestly, you're doing a better job of keeping up than I am with it. But there's so many conversations, I'm having problems keeping up with it. So make sure you come over to Facebook and join us on Fellowship of the Duck Guns. Jordan at Duck Gun Chronicles on YouTube, and Instagram, and myself at Freelance Duck Hunting on YouTube and Instagram as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really cool to see everybody from the podcast jumping in over there. And like you said, just different waterfowl topic all the time. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's way like my Freelance Duck Hunting YouTube page. It's not a group, but it's a page, and I'd say Fellowship of Duck Guns has way more activity.
Yeah, that's awesome. Another thing, we are still doing the giveaways for the reviews, guys, so make sure we still have barrel decals to get you. If you do review, I know some of you guys have done reviews too, but make sure you do a review, and when you do it, send me the screenshot and tell me if you want a white one or black one. That way And your address. That way I know where to send it. Because if you just leave a review, there's no way I can tell on Apple who it is. So go ahead. If you've done one in the past, make sure to get that information to me as well. And you can email me at duckgunchronicles@gmail.com.
Are you putting on a black? Are you gonna put one on your guns? What is your thought with
Yeah,
with the barrel stickers?
I'm going to look and see which one looks best. My gun's actually at Browning right now for some work, getting the cycling issue taken care of, and I'm still waiting on it though. So I actually sent it there in May, and I called them earlier this week because they told me beginning of July, and they said they're still waiting on parts. So I'm like, is it going to be done by like September 1st when you hunt? And they said we can't make any promises.
That's your 12 gauge.
Yep.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy that the 20 gauge your grandpa had is, I don't know, do you think they just built them better back then? Because you haven't hardly had any problems with that.
Yeah. No, I've never had a problem with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about old guns.
They've got some nostalgia to them for sure. But I think maybe they just built them better. I don't know. I know that, like, it's just a bad streak because Aiden's Stoger M3000, he's had cycling issues. My Beretta A300, I've had cycling issues, and like your A5, you've had cycling issues, and I'm not sure about the A5, but I know the Stoger and the Beretta. I mean, you look online and everyone is just raving, no problems with it, no problems with it, no problems with it, just amazing gun. And I've had quite a few problems with mine, and Aiden has had with the Stoger as well. And I don't
It's
know.
crazy. I don't know. I have no idea. I feel like I clean it enough, so I don't know.
Mine's definitely dependent on cleaning. If I clean mine every single hunt, and last year I got to the point where it wasn't every single hunt, but if I clean every single hunt, it won't have any issues. So I'm like, what is it that like a little film of dirt is enough to help it to make it not cycle the second shell? Really? It's that sensitive?
Yeah, maybe dirty powder or anything.
Maybe it is. Maybe once we switch to Boss, I won't have those issues.
Yeah,
I
time
don't
will
know.
tell. You got to clean it one time before that, right
Oh,
before season.
I've got to clean it for sure because we went out. My dad and a friend of mine named Seth, who has a yellow lab, we went out and did a training session where and I was actually like, we tried to make it as live as possible with actually really shooting shells, and I was having cycling issues with it on that hot day. So I'm definitely gonna have to fully clean it before season.
Awesome. All right. Well, anything else we want to talk about before we jump into the main topic?
Yeah, MVM podcast, man. I listened to you were on there,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I listened to that, and you know what actually went through my mind. And guys, I'm all about just being real. If I have thoughts that are derogatory to myself, then I'm just gonna share them with you guys. That's just how it is. I was like, man, Jordan's doing awesome. I need to shut my damn mouth so much on our podcast. Those were my thoughts, but you killed it over there. That was a great podcast.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Definitely a lot different being not in the driver's seat. So, and honestly, that's kind of the role we play when we do our podcast together, right? I'm the structure and you're the color commentator. So
Yeah,
it's just how it works, right? So
yeah.
somebody's got to do one of each role. So I think that's why the co-host and host version of podcast is the best format.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And I recorded one with Mid Valley Mercenaries MVM podcast as well. And I'm not sure when it's coming out, but we're doing a lot of collab with them. So if you have not listened to Titus and what he's got going on over there, make sure that you put that on your podcast playlist.
Yep, MVM show and Duck Gun podcast. We are brother podcast to each other at this point. So definitely, and we definitely have some other big plans with him as well. So, and I actually even have another. I might have another hunt with him as well in the
Really?
works. I mean, hopefully, maybe you never know.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I just talked to him today and to our big collab, which we're going to be releasing this super secret collab stuff that a bunch of us have been working on. It's in, the background, but he's bringing Rocky on that. I didn't realize.
Really, I didn't know that either. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
How much does it cost to fly a dog?
I don't know.
It's got to cost something. They're not going to let you do
Yeah.
that for free.
No, that's awesome. I didn't know that. So he's probably
Yeah,
using the
because
gunner kennel. That's pretty cool.
he was texting me about, will it be too many dogs? And I'm like, no. I mean, we got a bunch of dogs there, but
No,
it'll
I
be
can't
fine.
wait. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to have 3.5 dogs. I'm counting Izzy as a half dog right now because I don't know if she's gonna be able to go or not.
Awesome.
So
That'd be
yeah,
some
it'll
good
be cool.
stuff. Looking forward
Yeah,
to hearing
absolutely.
yours as well. So,
Cool.
all right. Well, I think right now is a good point. Let's go ahead and hear a word from our partners, and then we'll jump into the main topic of the podcast. All right, and we're back. So the topic for tonight, we actually got a request for a topic, and really liked it. So we're gonna go ahead and cover that one for tonight. So I'll go ahead and read the topic question that was sent to us. Hey Jordan, this is Cody. Hope all is well. Also, I am still enjoying the content y'all have been putting out. I have another topic idea for you. So, with me and a bunch of hunters new to the waterfowl scene, what would be some good tips and tricks to improve on shooting accuracy during the season and off season? Unfortunately for me, my situation is a little more difficult than most people. I am right-handed and my dominant eye is my left eye. I've tried the swap shoulder trick and I just can't shoot on the opposite side. I know it takes a good bit of practice. I'll be buying a good bit of clays before season. About a week ago, I sold my Benelli and picked up a new Franchi. So I'll be breaking that in for the season. If you have any suggestions to spruce up my shooting, I'd be glad to take any information you can throw at me. Once again, thanks for the awesome content and podcast. God bless. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cover that. Shooting tips from Graybeard.
Yeah, I tell you, I can give some tips because I've had some years where I have sucked. So, I've if someone's just a natural good shot, I mean, asking them shooting tips to me, I would rather get shooting tips from someone who naturally struggles a little bit because if there are people who are natural shooters and getting tips from natural shooters, I mean, if you're a natural, you're a natural. I'd rather get tips from someone. I've struggled with shooting throughout my life. My father struggled with shooting throughout his life. I've struggled with shooting that throughout my life. And and just like him, I'm left eye dominant as well. So
Yep, that's something we share.
yeah. Oh, are you left eye dominant also?
Yep.
I did not realize that. Well, how do you deal with that? What do you do?
So that's interesting. I wonder if we've actually had a discussion about this in the Fellowship of the Duck Gun. So I was wondering if this is from the same individual or not, and I couldn't remember. So the way that I deal with it is I keep both eyes open until I pick out a target or until I kind of get close to where I need to be. Then I close my eye and finish the swing through and shoot the bird. And then I'll open my eyes in between shots and pick out another bird, get on it, close one eye, and shoot. So that's how I deal with it, which is a little slower, I think, but for me it helps.
I never realized that in shotgunning that you were supposed to keep two eyes open. I had no idea. No one ever taught me that, and so I always shot with my left eye closed.
Well, if you're left eye dominant, you can't keep it open.
Yeah, well, yes, yeah, but I didn't realize I was left eye dominant. I always just like shooting a rifle, you close your left eye, right? If you're right-handed.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I had always just closed that eye, and I don't know why, whether I did it because I'm left eye dominant, not knowing that. I suspect that I just did it because I grew up on a BB gun. I got a BB gun at a very young age. My dad in the basement. We had this huge rec room, and he put up a sheet, which this is a great tip. If you have kids in a great room, if you put up a sheet at the back of the room, you can let your kids shoot in a room. Those sheets will take those little BBs, no problem. So my dad set up a sheet for me and a bunch of targets and stuff. And I mean, I can't tell you how much time I spent down there shooting my little BB gun, and I got really, really good with a BB gun and later a pellet gun. But I mean, with those guns, you always close, one eye, right? So when I started shooting a shotgun, I just did the same thing. No one ever said keep both eyes open.
So tip one, Cody, is get a BB gun and a sheet of paper. That's not it, right?
No, like a sheet, like a blanket sheet, right?
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And to catch the bullets. But yeah, that's tip number one. But when I started shooting a shotgun, I think I just naturally closed my left eye. And then later on, somewhere along the road, I was told that shotgunners are supposed to keep two eyes open, and I had no idea. So around that same time, I don't remember the whether I tried that in shotgunning. I probably heard about that, and then I tried to look down a shotgun, and it just look, being left eye dominant. And for those of you that don't know, let me give a little description. Here's left eye dominant versus right eye dominant. We should probably back up. If you are left eye dominant, then when you go to shoot a shotgun with both eyes open, if you're right-handed, you've got the gun on your right shoulder, but your left eye is the focal point that is lining up the bead. Your right eye, which is the one that is centered straight down the sight, is not the eye that's focusing on the actual bead. So on your left eye, you won't see straight down the sight. You'll actually, your main point of focus, you'll see the side of the shotgun, and it's at an angle. So if you try if your left eye is the dominant one focusing on that bead, and you line it up on a bird, it's going to be way off. To where if you're right eye dominant, you have both eyes open, but your right one is the one that's actually focusing on a point out in distance, out of the two eyes. So you will see straight down your sight. So when you line up the bead on the bird or in front of the bird, it'll be right on what it should be, if that makes sense. So a right-hander, left eye dominant, they are never going to kill a bird unless they're just completely lucky, because their left eye, which is set over a couple inches to the left, is the one focusing. So when I heard you open two eyes, and I messed around with it on a shotgun, and it was obviously off when I did that.
Yep.
So then I researched it, and you can do a test, and the test is this: you look at something in the room, you point at it, and with your finger, so something clear across the room, you point with your hand, line it up with your finger, and then close your left eye, close your right eye. One of those two eyes will be pointing right at that particular object. So for me, I just did it right now, and again, my left eye is the one lined up on it.
Yeah,
So
we'd actually do a similar test, not exactly like that, but you take your hands, you stick them out, and you make a triangle with your hands like this, and then you look at an object far away, a small object, and so a smaller triangle than that, Elliot. Like a really barely, you can barely see through it. Like
let me
this.
go back. I'm not even watching the YouTube feed, so you're saying like this. I'm not even
Yeah,
watching
no. Yeah. So a very small triangle
Okay.
like this, and then
Show me the triangle again. Show me the triangle again.
yeah, like this,
Oh, okay. I
and then
see
you
it.
just bring it slowly back to your eye.
And
And
those of you
whatever,
just listening, it's just like a very small triangle in between your two palms.
yeah, and whatever eye it comes back to when you bring it back is your dominant eye.
Okay, let me do it again.
So
Yeah,
Elliot's giving a shot here.
Yeah, it's left for me.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that's how I learned in hunter safety course or whatever.
I guess they didn't teach me that in hunter safety. I'm a massive daydreamer. You put someone up in front of me in a classroom and you have them talk. I got maybe 30 seconds. If it's really interesting content, I got longer than that. But maybe I just didn't hear it. So yeah, good point. So everyone, right now, if you're listening, do that little test if you've never done it to see. So with me, I found out you're supposed to open up both two eyes, and then I did the test, realized I was left eye dominant, and that's when I was like, well, screw that. I'm just going to continue to close my left eye, and I shoot with a left eye closed. And to me, that is such a much better answer than trying to switch shoulders. I mean, I would never ever try to switch shoulders. But one option that you can do, and I read online, is you can try to retrain yourself with lots of shotgun practice. So you want to shoulder your gun as much as you can, keep both eyes open, and if you're focused on it, you can once you look down a shotgun, you can tell which eye you're using, because one sees a little bit of the side of the shotgun and the other doesn't. So you can through repetitive practice retrain, at least while you're shotgunning, how to use your right eye. Because the thought is, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not quite positive on this, it's better to shoot with both eyes open because you just have more peripheral vision.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And also, when you aim with your gun, a lot of times it's harder to swing through than with one eye. So I think that's part of it too.
Okay. So and I've never even asked my dad if I think he's right eye dominant. I think that he is. But with me, I've had years where I've really, really struggled with my shooting when I've gotten in really bad shooting funks. In fact, FDH season 1 and season 2, um, I keep track of my shooting percentage. I know a lot of people don't do that because it takes a little bit of a diligence, but I keep track of my shooting percentage. And my lifetime shooting percentage is about 46 or 47 in that range. But I had a couple of years in a row, FDH season 1 and 2, where I shot about 36, 37, like 10 full points below my lifetime shooting average.
That
So,
was
and
back when you were a skybuster, though. So
though I was missing easy, I wish I was missing easy shots. I wasn't missing hard skybuster shots. If you are a skybuster, I promise you're shooting high 20s, low 30s. Promise, promise. You
what
just
if we're?
are.
All right. So we got the dominant eye covered now. So let's go ahead and talk about some tips. So I know one for me. We'll just go back and forth on this, Elliot.
Okay.
But let's just start with preseason. So preseason, the obvious thing you can do is go out and shoot clay pigeons, which he said in his message to us that he was going to. But when you shoot your clay pigeons, don't just start with your gun already shouldered in your face on the stock and aiming where the clay pigeon's going to be thrown. Start with it from hip, and you say pull and wait for it, and then shoulder the gun, because that's going to be your real life scenario. And I've had struggles where I'm not even putting my face on the stock, which can get you in some trouble. Or because then you're not aiming right, or you get too excited. So it's just take your time and try to take that same mentality into duck season. So you make sure you kind of have like almost like a pre-shot routine. Like you go through it, you shoulder your gun, you put your cheek on the stock, you aim down the barrel, you get on your bird, you follow it, and then you pull the trigger. So if you can do that every time in your clay pigeons and make that a habit, then when the duck comes, it's going to be second nature. As long as you're not getting too excited, just try to, it's hard, especially early season when you're excited for ducks coming in. But yeah, if you can work on that in the off season with your clay pigeons, I think that's the best kind of bet for preseason tip on that.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're just dead on with that. It's hard to do when you're shooting clays because if you have your gun up before you say pull, you're going to be a lot more accurate. Because for me personally, shouldering my shotgun is the number one thing that I have to work on. It's the number one problem that I have. If I were to have, if I could calculate my stats for my shooting percentage on my second shot on a bird versus my first, I guarantee you there is a huge discrepancy. I'm way more accurate on my second shot. Shouldering the shotgun is always something that has caused me issues, and I think that's the reason why I've had so many shooting problems because a lot of my shooting problems come out of a layout boat because you got to sit up and shoulder the gun, and so if you're gonna go out and practice, just like Jordan said, if you really want to get good practice in, do not shoulder that gun until you say pull because it's that shouldering reaction that is so important. I have a tendency, if I don't shoulder my shotgun properly, I have a tendency to see down on the barrel. So you're supposed to see nothing but the bead. In fact, I'm not even using a bead anymore. We can talk about that in a moment, but you're not supposed to see anything on the top of the barrel through down the I don't know what's called that top thing, the line, but down the sight, you're not supposed
Yeah,
to see anything.
it's supposed to be flat.
Yeah.
Everything's supposed to look flush.
Yes, and when I don't shoulder properly, I'm looking down on it and I can see part of it, and that's
Yeah.
that's my big problem. That's one of my big problems.
Yeah, that's probably why you have to use such a wide choke too.
I don't know. It might be. I suspect that with the gun I have, it doesn't fit me properly, and I know that you can adjust that. Now the Stoger M3000 doesn't have this, and I'm just mentioning that because I did a whole video on Stoger versus A300 on my Freelance Duck Hunting YouTube channel. But the Stoger doesn't have this ability, but the Beretta A300, and I can't remember the name of them, how it works. It starts with a C, but you can take apart the stock a little bit and you add these little shims, I think they're called. Forgive me,
Yep.
guys, if I'm wrong with these. And you can adjust the fit, but it's like I've watched a video on it and it seems really complicated to me. But I'm pretty sure I've got longer arms for my body. I've got pretty long arms, and I'm pretty sure my shotgun doesn't quite fit me right. And if I could get in there and adjust that, I think it would make a difference. I'm just not quite sure how to go about doing that. I've watched videos. It just seems hard.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to adjust them. It's like I don't. I mean, I know how to change the pieces. I don't know how to, like, oh yeah, that's how I need it. I don't know that.
Yep, I hear you. So, I guess the other tip I would have for off season is the other thing I'd say for off season is when you shoulder the gun, you can do kind of drills, in your basement or around your house where you look at an object across the room and just shoulder and try to aim on that as quick as you can. Shoulder, get the gun in the right position, aim on it, just over and over, and that'll help a lot as far as getting your rhythm down for preseason. So I think that's kind of. I don't think there's pretty much anything else I can think of for preseason tip. You got anything else to add to that before we add seasonal tips?
No, I would just agree completely with what you just said because I've shot clays and I have done what the practice that you're talking about, and I can tell you one of the big turning points for me. If you've watched my YouTube channel, if you've watched all of it, clear back to season 1 and season 2, when I was having so much shooting problems. The main shooting problems I have is out of layout boat. I'll shoot if I can pop up and stand, or even shoot off a bench or a seat or something. I shoot really really well. When I really struggle is out of a layout blind. So I got in my basement in my layout blind in my garage, and several different times, about 50 times, I just practiced popping up and aiming at different things in the room and shouldering it, and that made a huge difference. That made much better difference to me than actually going to a range. And I would also add, if you are going to shoot clays, I use steel. Steel and lead have different velocities, and I mean, if I'm practicing basketball, I'm not going to shoot free throws on an 8-foot goal if I really want to practice. And if you want to really practice for ducks, you're going to shoot steel for clays because it's a different velocity.
Yep. And that'll help with your lead. So,
Yeah.
I guess that kind of brings us to, let's talk about in-season tips. And one thing I would suggest is if you have access to a camera, whether you want to strap a GoPro on there or a shot cam or Tacticam, there's a bunch of different options you can try out. But there's just a good way to see where you're missing, if you're leading too far, anything like that. Go ahead and strap a camera on there, and you'll be able to give it a good look at afterwards. You might think you're right on, but in reality, maybe you're leading the bird by twice as far as what you need.
Yeah, I cannot wait to be able to do that as well with the camera. I just can't wait. That's going to be so cool because you can actually see the shot string.
Yeah, no, it's good to see that.
Really, really excited about that. I would say for me in the season, it's all about mentality and your mind game, because we've all had those hunts where you get a gimme come in, you miss it, and then you get another maybe a little bit harder shot come in and you miss it. It starts getting in your head, and it's just like I played baseball in high school and in college and everything, and I was a pitcher, and everything is so mental with athletics. It's actually unbelievable how mental everything is. So with shooting,
Yep.
it's the same thing. If you get on a bad streak, and you and I talked about that, Jordan, last year when you were kind of on a bad streak,
Mm-hmm.
and with my boys, when they start getting on a bad streak, it's all in your head. It's about being in your head. If you go over your first 5, over your first 6, it can really eat you up in your mind. And so for me in the season, it's all about the mind game. I'm not going to go out and shoot clays during the season. I might go in, I might do the drill in my garage with the aiming, but it's all about the mental aspect of shooting.
Yep. Yep. And then, another thing I'd say as far as your shooting and to kind of prevent going into that streak, or if you start seeing yourself going into a bad shooting streak, is just slow down on your first shot. For me, as well, that's probably the shot I miss more than any other shot is my first shot.
Mm-hmm.
You get too excited, you're standing up, just slow down and, make sure you hit your first shot. You're never going to shoot a double if you don't hit your first shot. Well, I mean, you can still shoot a double. You're never going to shoot a triple, though, if you don't hit your first shot. So, and then even then, making sure on that third shot you're not really reaching for something that's something you're not going to hit anyway. So it's just for me, I'm going to say just slow down on your shots. That first shot especially, make your first shot your best shot, not your fastest shot.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And what I learned on my first shot, and I found this out in a video from season 3. Can't remember the name of it, but I needed one bird for my limit, and came right in, and just a gimme bird, just hovering. But I mean, well, hovering. It was moving a little bit left to right, and I missed on the first shot and killed it on the second. And I watched that clip over and over and over again. And I was like, how did I miss it? How did I miss it? And I watched, and finally I saw the first shot. I knocked one tiny little feather off this bird. I mean, it's like one tiny feather, and it came right off its butt. And that's like, okay, my first shot, I'm not leading. I was behind that bird, and it's my first shot. I'm shouldering and not leading properly. And then I regroup myself, and then the second shot, I'm on it where I should be, and I kill it. So for me personally, it's like on the first shot, maybe take an extra millisecond and remember my lead. Remember my lead. And after that, I started doing a lot better on my first shots after I realized that and started mentally focusing on it.
Yeah. Have you ever watched like any type of like competition hunting?
You mean like trap, like clays and stuff?
No. So the thing I'm thinking of specifically is they have like the bird dog trials for like upland game. And so it's based off of like the hunter and the dog's performance, right? So if you miss a shot, pretty much you can't win. So you'll be amazed if you ever watch it. The amount
Can
of
you
time,
post that? Can you post the video of that in Fellowship with the Duck Guns?
I can look for one.
Yeah, dude, because I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, so I actually just watched it last year. I can't remember what it's called, but they'll do it with labs like flushers and pointers. Well, anyways, especially with the flushers because you have a little bit less time, I think, than the pointers. But I mean, these guys will stand there for like it's like 2 or 3 seconds, I swear. And they'll aim down on that bird and they make sure they're on it. So it's like you can't miss a shot. And so if you miss a shot, I mean, you can take the same mentality to your duck hunting. You know, on that first shot, just make sure, you know, you're standing there, you're ready, you're aimed on it, and then you pull the trigger.
Yeah, shouldering the gun and lead, shouldering the gun and lead. That makes such a huge difference.
Yep.
We had a really interesting question in the live feed, and for those of you who don't know, we've gone back to doing a YouTube live stream for this, which we did at the beginning, and then we kind of stopped. But this is actually a very interesting question. Derek says, "Do you have problems going from teal to big ducks? I seem to smash the teal, then support. Then something seems to happen during that break, and I can't seem to hit anything for a couple of weeks." Do you have any thoughts on that, Jordan?
The only thing I can think of is I think a lot of people take passing shots on teal, even if they're like coming into your decoys. A lot of times they swing through your decoys super fast, almost like a diver. And so I don't know if you're getting your lead off a little bit or something along those lines, whereas with a big duck, they coast in kind of slow, flap their wings, float there, and then you pop them. It's just teal is a lot quicker of a game for the most part.
Yeah, and I would be curious to ask Derek what kind of teal shots that he gets, because for me, the last several years, we have had such successful teal hunts that the shots we're getting on teal are just gimme. I mean, as easy a shots as you could think of getting. And I know last year I shot over 70% during teal season, and that was like 6 hunts, limited out on every single hunt. So I shot like 30, 35 teal. I don't remember, it's 6 or 7 hunts, but or 5 to 7, somewhere in there, but limited out every single hunt. But the shots that we were getting were so easy that I came out of there 70%. And so when we went to big duck, the shots actually were a little bit harder because just the amount of ducks that we were actually teal we were landing and everything. So I think it could be either direction. It could be that you're shooting past shots and you're getting used to a certain lead. And then in big ducks, they're a little slower and you're maybe leading too much. Or it could be the complete opposite, like it was for us, that the teal shots you're getting are so ridiculously easy that you've got nowhere to go but down.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I mean, teal, when they're finishing in, you can get them a little closer. They seem to be a lot less wary than mallards. If mallards are flaring right there at 25 yards, and then you're getting shots at like 30 and 35, yeah, that's going to be way more difficult than a teal at 15, 20 yards, just sitting right into the decoys. So yeah, there is a couple different ways where the teal could be difficult for you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I typically shoot better for teal than I do anything else myself.
Awesome. So you got another tip you want to add in there?
Man, I think that pretty much does it. So to summarize, shoot in the off season, shoot with steel, shoot from the hip, not when you say pull. Don't have the gun raised. Get your gun and just practice shouldering it as much as you can. Practice on your mind game with it without getting discouraged. That's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, the only other thing I can think of is if you got a option for pigeons. That was kind of my summer plan because I have a bad thing about having bad shooting come into season, just because you haven't done it all year, and clays don't always do the trick, like you said. A lot of it is mental. Probably all of it is mental. I just get too excited. I'm not gonna lie. It's just I'm so excited that it all goes out the window. So trying the pigeons, if you got a farm you can go to, you can shoot some pigeons before season. Or through the season, just periodically to keep you in the swing. Because right now, when I go out and shoot pigeons, I'm smashing them. So if I can bring that into duck season, I'm not going to have the early season difficulties that I've had in the past.
I would also say if you're not shooting well during season, think about what is the scenario. Like, are you standing when you're shooting? Are you having problems when you're sitting down? Or like for me, I was having problems in a layout boat. So off season, when I shot clays, we had a little spring thrower that my dad had. We actually got our layout boats out and shot clays out of the layout blind. And I sucked on that day. I did not shoot well. We were doing crossing shots. So try to pay attention to what type of shooting you're struggling with and replicate that off season too.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, I think that pretty much wraps it up then. Thanks again, guys. If you have any topics you'd like us to hit up, be sure to drop them over to us. You can send them to either me or Elliot, Instagram, Facebook. Email them to me as well, duckgunchronicles@gmail.com. Any of those. We love covering topics that you guys send to us. So, we have a lot of really interesting guests lined up, but when we have a chance to get on kind of just a tips and trick tips and trick episode, then we'll go ahead and pull the trigger on those. So, all right, you got anything else to add, Elliot, before we sign off here?
Yeah, just make sure you bring the conversation over to Fellowship of the Duck Guns. Like I said, the Facebook group is blowing up, and it's a great place just to discuss and talk. So please come join us over there, and please check out our YouTube channels if you haven't. I think that if you tie in our YouTube videos with the podcast, it's just perfect because we talk a lot about them. Then you can go and watch them and see them.
Yeah, perfect combination. So, all right, fellas, that's all we got for this week. I am Jordan from Duck Gun Chronicles, Elliot from Freelance Duck Gun.
You always screw that up so many times. You screw up Graybeard a bunch, and you screw up. I want you. Okay, so tie back into the podcast, and you go to the bathroom and say Elliot from Freelance Duck Hunting 50 times.
All right, and Elliot from and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks everybody in the live stream. Appreciate you guys joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.